Step right up, space pioneers. When it comes to industry among the stars, there's one name you can trust: Tellicorp. Yes, sir, Tellicorp is your friendly, hard-working industrial corporation proudly specializing in Tech 2 modules and capital ship manufacturing. But that's not all. Behind every great starship is great chemistry, and Tellicorp runs a large-scale reactions business to keep those capital parts rolling off the line faster than you can say, warp drive. Nestled in the heart of the domain region, Tellicorp's mighty facilities boast the power to produce over 25 capital ships every month. That's right, orcas, bowheads, and avalanches, all crafted with care, precision, and that famous Tellicorp quality. And hold on to your helmets, pilots, because the future is now. Tellicorp has expanded operations to bring you even more, producing Amar dreadnoughts, carriers, and force auxiliary ships. So remember, folks, whether you're hauling, mining, or conquering the stars, Tellicorp builds the ships that build empires.
So this little advert, which I got paid 200 million ISK for, was one of the results of a new business partner for Ardco, namely the Tehli Corporation, run by Alilos Tellis. So the partnership in brief terms is that I will provide fuel blocks for part of the large reaction industry that they've got going. And Alilos asked me if I could run an advert. I thought, yeah, but I wouldn't just run a standard advert. I wanted to be a little bit creative with it. But essentially, the Tehli Corporation is a large producer of capital ships and Tech 2 modules. Contracts are usually under the name of Alilos Tellis himself. You can also send him a message and inquire about the available inventory, especially if you're interested in buying bulk to help with coordination and maybe get good prices. Alilos is also a fellow content creator in that he runs a blog that documents his industrial journey. I recommend that you check it out. I'll provide a link in the description of this video. But the Tehli Corporation is not the only new partnership that Ardco has struck. These are my current standing monthly orders. So in total I have 3 partners, and the total amount of fuel blocks are 10,000 helium, 5,000 oxygen, 5,000 nitrogen, and 5,000 hydrogen, for a total of 25,000 a month. Furthermore, I have another partnership where it's more of a when they're needed, but I've also talked to a person that runs a very large setup, and once I have scaled up my setup, they'd be willing to buy these amounts, and that's what, 80,000 a month. I think I could technically produce this much, but with JITA sell prices, I'm not sure I would turn that much profit, because right now my profit is tied into how much coolant I can produce, which we will come back to. First, let's have a look at this week's progress. So last week we left off here at about 2 billion net worth. We had a slight dip throughout the week. I think this is down to my reprocessing skills, that I'm actually making the ice worth less when I'm reprocessing it, together with buying materials. But towards the end here, we've had a bit of a spike. So up to 2.1 billion. Overall, it's been a pretty steady week. I had some sales early on. It spiked our wallet balance. We have been producing steadily throughout the week. The thing I'm most excited about is probably these ones. After the tip I got recently, which I mentioned in another video, I have started to put up some fuel blocks, sell orders, at a pretty good margin, and they have started to sell a little bit. It's no huge amounts, but if I can find a few more of these spots, it would be nice to get a bit of a steady income instead of this spiky with the contracts. And over time, when people learn that they can find fuel blocks in these locations, it'll probably increase more and more. But essentially what I've done this week is I've been trying out a lot of PI, try and maximize my coolant production. Done a bit of ice mining as well, but it's a very contested ice belt, the high sec one I have access to, and technically I don't really have access to the null sec one, which we'll go through in a bit as well. But maybe the biggest thing this week has been skill-wise. What I managed to do this week was I had a series of fortunate events that all coincided. First of all, I got the login reward, 250,000 skill points. At the same time, I managed to complete a large chunk of the air career missions, which gave me another 325 for a total of 550. I was also gifted a cerebral accelerator by one of the Plenitude guys, which really increased my skill point earning. These all together made it possible for me to really blow through the reprocessing efficiency really long. Since then, I have also got ice processing 1 and 2, which makes it so that right now in HiSec I have a 69.3 refining efficiency, which is not optimal, but it's way better than I had before. But I didn't want to really continue with ice processing because it's not really what's holding me back right now. Problem I'm having is that the ice belt in HiSec, it's a bit like I had with the other ice belts I've been in. It's very sporadic. It's not something I can do every day, and it's very contested, which is fine. I want a bit of more of a steady supply of ice. Reason behind this is because right now I'm limited by coolant to give me big margins on the fuel blocks. It would be nice if the ice could make a dent, and then maybe I can buy a few coolants and then maybe up my production even more. But this all leads to me shifting the focus a bit for my skills right now. So all of these is really to beef up my procurer. I've gone through a few of these already, and hopefully I think I could, when this tactical sheet manipulation is done, I think I'm gonna go out and try the nullsec ice belt. And to do that, my biggest problem is not so much that I could get ganked. I'm fine with losing my procurer. What would be annoying would be if I couldn't handle the rats in the belt. So I've done a little bit of research, and I think this should at least let me tank it. What I'm planning to run are the ice harvesters 2, of course, 3 of these medium core defense field extenders, 2 ice harvesters upgrade, damage control 2, 2 medium shield extenders, and a multi-spectrum shield hardener to get the bonus, because I think the rats do EM and thermal damage. And similarly, want to use the infiltrator 2 drones to be able to deal with them. Since I'm not running alts, I can't have a ship nearby that could deal with them. I have 2 problems. First of all, the CPU, of course, so I might have to tinker with this a bit. Also, I'm not actually sure if my DPS is enough to deal with rats in nullsec. I do have a few more skills, and these are mainly for the Hornet drones in case I get ganked. I know it's not an optimal fit PvP wise, but as I said, I'm not too worried about losing this, even though it is a bit of money. But it seems decently bulky to me. But I think the DPS needs to be 200-300 for the rats. I am training the mining barge skills a bit. For the procurer, gives a bit of drone damage bonus. Maybe I need to swap out one of these for to amplify the drone damage. But if any of you have any good idea for fits, please let me know. So after I have trained the skills for the procurer, I'm gonna start training into the endurance, which I think will be a better choice, really. I had one person tell me you can get into the, if I remember correctly, the shattered wormholes, which the endurance will be better for, which would be cool to try out. I have no idea what it is, but. So a large part of my week has been spent tinkering with the PI and to solve the electrolyte problem from earlier. And I think I've come upon a bit of an unorthodox solution to the problem, and it seems to be working so far. Right now I have 2 T1 production planets, the Storm and the Gas, both producing electrolytes. I have everything set up on 24-hour cycles, and so far they've been able to constantly produce electrolytes. Then I have 2 other gas planets, all maxed out on CPU, extracting on 24-hour cycles, one extracting aqueous liquids and one extracting ionic solutions. These raw resources are then put on my factory planets. And on these factory planets, I don't only have one type of factory. I'm producing electrolytes, water, and coolant on this planet. So this gives me a total of 10 electrolyte factories, 9 water factories, and 8 coolant factories. And right now I'm able to produce about 500-600 coolant a day, which is more than enough for the fuel blocks I'm producing, ensuring a good margin on all my sales. I'm not sure this will be sustainable in the long run, because now I have a bit of a stockpile of the different materials, but I think 8 factories of coolant will outproduce the other ones eventually. But I think it'll be minor changes to kind of even that up. So for now, I think I'm gonna stick with this and try and focus a bit more with mining ice, because the coolant right now is the ceiling for how much I can produce at a very good margin. Could probably sell the fuel blocks while buying the coolant, but the margins would be so small, which in itself is not a bad thing. But when you have very small margins, you also need to sell very, very many fuel blocks to make a decent profit. Because right now, and this is a bit like when you start out day trading, you want to go for the high margin items initially that don't sell as often. And as your wallet becomes bigger and bigger and your tax margins get smaller and smaller, you can start moving into the items that we trade many for less margin. And I'm trying to replicate this with my fuel blocks here a bit. So the focus the coming week will really be the ice mining, and to really try out a bit of high heart rate mining with ice fixed on local in the Intel channel. I haven't had time to explore the Excel part of Artco, which I had hoped for, but maybe me and ChatGPT can have a session and see if we can fix it. I will also try and see if I can find some more markets to seed with fuel blocks, because I think pretty soon I will have this month's fuel block stockpile fixed, and the extra ones I can try and see if I can find any more markets where they would sell. Otherwise, I want to give a huge shout out to all my viewers. We're over 200 subscribers. I'm getting 1,000 viewers on the last few videos, and I'm still getting tons of emails and comments. And from what I could tell, I don't know if it's because of you guys, but Plenitude seemed to have a bit of a bump in membership with a few more joining, which I'm happy to see. At some point I will open up Artco for recruitment as well, and I'll try and do that whenever I feel that my single character can't scale anymore, or where the scaling becomes too much of a job essentially. Then this series becomes a bit more of a corporation management series. So at first I want to try and see how far I can take it on my own. But again, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video as well.